This is Mr. Clark, and we're going to be doing a virtual presentation for you for our class meetings. Unfortunately, we're unable to meet in the auditorium how we would typically do our class meetings just because of the density of the classes. And so I have my entire administrative team, most of my team here with us today. And so I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to turn things over to them individually. And we hope this is going to be a real quick presentation for you, but really need to share some important information that's going to help you through the school year. For our sophomores, some of this is going to be a little bit of a repeat from orientation, not too much. But again, we want to reinforce some of the critical messages that we have for all of the kids in the building this year. So again, I'm Mr. Clark. I'm the principal here at Fairport High School. This is my 8th year as a principal here, and I couldn't be more proud to represent this group and to serve all of you, and really looking forward to a great school year. And moving on, we're going to have each one of our assistant principals introduce themselves at this time. Mr. Kuhn?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Kuhn. I'm the Red House assistant principal. Throughout the school year, I'll be working with students with the last name A through G. I'm looking at your screen all the way to the left. I am also part of the Proud to be a Raider campaign with our PBIS model, which we're very excited to start over the school year. I will be working with students who attend EMCC and BOCES, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. For AP exams, I'm in charge of doing registration, sending out information, and supporting staff during that process, and more information will come out throughout the school year. If you have any questions or concerns with lockers, the Red House is the one that is in charge of that, and I also will be overseeing the RTI model to support students in the classroom and using tiers of approach to really meet the needs of all students.
Mrs. Kyle?
So I'm Lindsay Kyle. I'm the assistant principal in the White House. I work with typically the middle third of students in grades 10 through 12. If you are a student with an IEP, I will be at all of your special education meetings. I also oversee exchange students. I schedule Regents exams and will work closely with Ms. McGrath and Mrs. Ryder across the hall to schedule our alternative site locations for students who have testing accommodations. I also have the Old English F Award, which is a unique award that we do here at Fairport that'll come out in the springtime. And I'm also going to be present for the Rock to Change meetings and events that are coming up very soon.
So I'm going to jump back in here because we have a new assistant principal that's going to be joining us hopefully in October, Mrs. Stephanie Miner, who's coming to us from Penfield School District. And she will be our new Blue House assistant principal. And Mrs. Miner is thrilled to be part of the team and is really looking forward to meeting all of you. She's also going to have a section of students that she's responsible for. And on top of that, she'll be our urban suburban liaison. She will deal with any kind of an initial 504 meeting for students that are in need of accommodations. She'll be the primary person responsible for our ELL programming and our students. She will deal with parking, and she's also going to be very instrumental in further developing our Sources of Strength program. And then on to Mrs. Power.
Hi, I'm Maddie Power. I am the assistant principal that shared with both the high school and Minerva DeLand, so I'll be here about every other day. I am in charge of your student planners, which are in the Red House. Also, if you want to start a club or get involved, I'm your person for that, as well as the award ceremonies and the student elections that take place at the end of the year.
So just real quick, I appreciate everybody's introductions. Also kind of note to all of you is that just because you may be in the Red House, the White House, or the Blue House, it's probably likely that at some point throughout your high school career here, those of you that are just coming in as 10th graders, but 11th and 12th graders as well, you're going to be working with all of our assistant principals. So please do yourself a favor and find an opportunity to get to know them and build a relationship with them. They can be a huge asset to you, while you're here at Fairport High School. So moving on, just talking about arrival a little bit and in this COVID world that we're still living in, I just want to tell students, again, it's really important when you come into the building, very much like it was last year, that you do your best to go to your classroom as soon as possible. Your teachers should be in their classroom right around 7 o'clock or shortly thereafter. And it helps us kind of lower the density and keep people safe. If you could go ahead and head right to that class and not really wander the hallways. I know some people like to do laps and kind of ease into their day, but we would appreciate it if you go directly to your classroom. Moving on, talking about construction at Fairport High School. Hopefully it's not a surprise to you. We'll be providing updates throughout the school year. We are in the midst of a major capital project here at the high school. We're really excited about some of the changes that are coming our way. There are two really big areas of concern that we'll talk about, and they do affect some of the traffic patterns in the building. The first is our cafeteria. And so currently, we used to have a cafeteria for each grade level, cafeterias A, B, and C, as well as a cafeteria for our staff. And we now, moving forward, we're going to have just one cafeteria. And that's slated to be finished in September of next year. So we're really excited about that. But in the meantime, our cafeteria is going to be in the gymnasium. And so that limits our access a little bit to the back of the building because our back hallway has been shut down for the construction crews to be able to safely remove debris and to kind of work through the project. And so we're working really hard to collaborate with students and staff to make sure that the junction points throughout the building are easy to pass through. And so we've asked students to, at the most, walk in pairs. You can't walk 4 kids across the hallway. It congests things. So we're going to ask kids to stay to the right at all times and just be mindful of the people that are around you and kind of moving around with your backpacks and also just making sure they don't stop in the middle of the hallway to have a conversation, you know, because we're moving a lot of students to the front and to the back of the building at different times during the day. The other area of focus that you'll see is pretty noticeable is up in our science hallway. Over the next 3 years, we're going to be redoing all of the science classrooms. We currently have 15 science classrooms. When we're done, we will have 18 brand new science classrooms and very modern. And we're really excited about that process. So right now, there's only about 3 rooms that have been taken down. And we look forward to getting those 3 classrooms brand new back to us around the Christmas time and holidays. And then they'll take 3 more and we'll continue that process until all of the 18 rooms are complete. There isn't really any impact on traffic as far as the science hallway goes. They've been able to kind of wrap that up and put it behind drywall so that it doesn't impact our kids. But that's just something to be mindful of. And again, we're really excited about the changes coming to Fairport High School and the opportunity to kind of modernize our building. So moving on, just talking a little bit before and after school, I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Kyle.
Thank you. So as you know, by this point in the brief school year, as we've started, that breakfast and lunch are now in the gymnasium due to the construction in the cafeteria. So breakfast is available to any student who would like to participate in the breakfast program. Lunch is available to any student. It's also free to every student this year. And there's paperwork to fill out if you are also going to pursue a free or reduced lunch in the future. That paperwork is available on the district website. But there's additional space that's reserved outside of the gym. It's in the library. There's also some overflow space outside of the auditorium with tables and chairs if students are more comfortable sitting there. The most important thing to know about lunch is that we will not accept any food deliveries of any kind. So please do not do Uber Eats or any kind of DoorDash. They will be turned away at the main office. So, and we really ask that you respect that policy as we move forward this school year.
Thank you. So in terms of grading, coming out of 18 months of this COVID environment, just a reminder to students that traditional grading procedures should be in effect. We've spent a lot of time working with teachers to norm our grading procedures and processes to make sure that they've discussed how we support students in this environment, to make sure that things that are being collected and graded are really important. So we're getting back to that stamina of being in school 5 days a week. And, you can expect things to kind of return to somewhat normal with regards to how things are graded and sort of the grace and understanding that your teachers are providing for you. So we recognize we're still in a pandemic and your teachers are going to be understanding of that. But we also have an obligation to, work on restoring that stamina and restoring our rigor in terms of the instructional practices. And we're going to work hard at that while at the same time supporting kids. A couple other notes just to make really quick here. Some changes with regards to our COVID restrictions. Last year, we weren't allowed to have large group assemblies. We're still going to have to review that on a case-by-case basis, just in terms of the concentration of students. So at this point, we'd say that assemblies are sort of, they're a maybe, not a definite no, but certainly we need to consider the size of the groups, and we also need to consider where we are in terms of the transmission rate for COVID. With regards to field trips, we're really excited about field trips coming back, especially with regards to things like our leadership trip to Washington, D.C., and shortly thereafter, the senior trip. We've been given permission to move forward under current conditions. Those are subject to cancellation if something should happen in a way that COVID prevents us from going. And so we're being very upfront about communicating that. But we're really excited about the opportunity to kind of, bring these experiences back to kids. And teachers will be looking for opportunities to, again, continue those learning experiences outside of the classroom. With regards to visitation, we're going to continue to restrict things to essential meetings. College rep visits are going to be allowed this year, and that's a change from last year. And so please look for announcements from the guidance department when certain colleges are coming in to visit. And so students can have that access and opportunity to get to know what their options are moving forward beyond high school. And again, we will continue to use our virtual platforms like we are right now to conduct certain kind of meetings, perhaps 504 meetings or IEP meetings, if it's something that we can work out with families, because there is a benefit to us having that technology and bringing experiences into the classroom. And I think teachers will continue to use that to bring in, again, alternate learning experiences as well. I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Power now.
So this year, we're going to ask that you continue to wear your mask. Both students and staff will be doing so. There will be mask breaks throughout the day, and just communicate with your teachers if you need that opportunity. Also, there are hand sanitizer and hand washing stations throughout the building. The big thing with the mask is it needs to be over your nose and under your chin. We don't allow gaiters or bandanas or anything like that. They also need to be school appropriate. You can wear whatever mask you want as long as it is appropriate for school. The biggest thing we're seeing so far in these 2 days of school is under the nose. We all know you know how to wear a mask, wear it over your nose. We don't want to have to keep asking you to do so. And those of you that are complying, we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So one more introduction to make, and this year we have the luxury of having an administrative intern, one of our special education teachers, in fact, our lead special education teacher. So now I'm going to introduce Mrs. Patricia McGrath.
Thanks, Bob. So I'm going to just take a few minutes to introduce our mental health team. We have school counselors, school psychologists, and social workers. Most of them are located upstairs between the house offices. You can find Mrs. Marty Budendak, Mrs. Christina Cardamone, Mr. Craig Howe, Mrs. Teresa Howe, Mrs. Heather Manillo, Mrs. Francine Newtown up there, as well as our school psychologists, Mrs. Rachel Affronti, Mrs. Megan Gang, and Mrs. Jackie McKenna. 2 of our social workers are also located upstairs within the house offices, Mrs. Liana Doctor and Mrs. Tina Trudeau. We also have Mrs. Liz Russell, who is our substance abuse social worker, and she's located downstairs just across from the main office. Just highly recommend stopping in, introducing yourself, getting to know your counselor or any of the staff up there. Incredibly helpful team, and feel free to stop in and get help when you need it.
Thank you very much. And some reminders about changes you might be wanting to make to your schedule. I'm going to kick things back to Mrs. Kyle.
Thanks. So make sure that you review the schedule change procedures that was mailed home to your parents in August. It's also outlined on the counseling department's website on the Fairport homepage. Students, you have to attend class for the first 3 days prior to dropping or changing a course. So this will be Monday. So by the morning of Tuesday, you'll be able to pursue the schedule change process if you so choose. You will need to complete a schedule change form that does require a parent signature and from a signature from your teacher as well. And the last day to add a class in the first semester is Friday, September 17th. After that point, you won't be able to jump into a first semester class. You'll have to wait to pursue it either in the second semester or next year. Another reminder is that to be considered a full-time student, our board policy is that you must maintain enrollment in 6 classes plus PE.
Thank you very much. So again, back to Mr. Kuhn, who's going to talk a little bit about student expectations.
Our student expectations for this year are responsibility, respect, and resiliency, and those resemble our 3 R's. that ties into our PBIS model for the high school. One of the benefits of the school year is really taking the time for staff and students to recognize positive behavior throughout the school. And there's multiple ways. One way is that we do a breakfast and really recognize that positive behavior so that school is a safe place for learning for all students.
Thank you so much. So moving forward, just a little bit of advice, and this applies really to every kid in the building. You know, first and foremost, every school year is a clean slate for each and every one of you. So in, you know, coming into this school year, I know that most of you have, you know, hopes and aspirations for making it a great year. And how does that start? And what are the things that you can do to make that happen? You know, I think it helps by being a little reflective about how the last school year went for you. And it's an opportunity to reframe your expectations. And there's a lot of assistance here at Fairport High School for you to take advantage of. And so first and foremost, I think it's important that you show up. You know, attendance is like one of the #1 indicators for a student's performance. And you can't, you know, when you miss instruction, you know, you begin a cycle of recovery where you're getting behind and you're missing that explanation of content, and it sort of creates these gaps in your learning. And then you're constantly trying to make that up. And so, you know, unfortunately, it is kind of typical for our teenage students to get in this cycle of recovery. And once they get behind, it sort of snowballs a little bit, and it increases the amount of anxiety that they have. It can affect your ability to get a good night's rest. And it certainly doesn't make school enjoyable. So first and foremost, I think one of the most important things that you can do is show up and be here. And if you're not sick, you know, of course, if you're not feeling well, we want you to do what's appropriate, especially in this COVID world, and make sure you communicate with your parents and, if need be, your pediatrician. But if you're up to it, we really need you to get into school and do your best to get through the day. Another piece of it is trying to maintain a good, you know, work habits around your homework and getting that stuff done. And, you know, each classroom teacher should explain what their expectations are around this. It's not uncommon to have about 30 to 45 minutes of homework from a given teacher. But if it's more than that and you're having trouble managing those expectations, again, please seek out that assistance. And there's plenty of ways for you to do that, starting with your guidance counselor, your parents, of course, go to your classroom teachers, and your building administrators. There's a lot we can do to help you with that process. And then the last component that's listed there is get involved. And we talk a lot about this over the years with students and have them understand, you know, Fairport High School is a big place, but Fairport High School also has a lot of different things for a lot of different kids. And one of the things that makes me proud to be the principal here is the number of extracurricular activities that we have, the number of opportunities that students have to be involved in something outside of the classroom. Because the bottom line is you're going to get out of Fairport High School exactly what you put into it. And so we have something for everyone, literally. If you're more on the academic side of things, we have academic clubs and activities to do. If you're more on the artistic side, we have clubs that align with those as well. Certainly, we have an amazing sports program, an amazing music program. So there's lots for you to do here. And if you're struggling to make connections on some of those things might be, we're always looking for people to participate in the development of the yearbook. We're always looking for people to participate in peer ambassadors, which is an opportunity for you to give back. There's just so many different opportunities for you to get involved and share a little bit about who you are and also make some connections with people in the building. So one of my #1 pieces of advice for all of you is to get involved. And again, you get out of Fairport High School exactly what you put into it. And then in the center there, obviously, is that word pride. And what does that mean? And I don't want to get too far into this, but, you know, we talk a lot about Fairport being a family. And one of the things I want you to understand about families are they are not perfect. And so it's not this thing that, you know, just because we say once a Raider, always a Raider, and, you know, many Raiders, one family, that means that everybody's going to have this rosy experience in school. What we're saying is that it's something that you make a conscious decision to be a part of. And families go through good times and they go through bad times and they work through those bad times together. That's what it means, is that we'll have your back. And so there's a lot of opportunity for you to demonstrate that pride, again, to buy into that Fairport culture, that family culture. But it's a conscious decision that you make. And recognize, again, it's not perfect, but we ask you, what can you do to make it better? And that's something we're constantly focused on. And we want you to feel a part of that. So we're really interested in helping with that process. I left this slide in here. This is something that we talked about last year. And again, we're still very much in this place where we have a lot of change going on, and a lot of it's outside of our control. And so whether it's COVID or dealing with construction throughout the year, I'm confident that with patience and fortitude, we're going to get through it. You know, and we have an amazing team here. I'm so excited to introduce this new staff to you. So excited to have Mr. Kuhn, Mrs. Power, Ms. McGrath, Mrs. Kyle, who's our experienced assistant principal here, and then joining us again, Mrs. Miner. We're going to do a remarkable work throughout the entire school year to make this a good experience for you. We can do this together, but you really need to buy into it. And again, you need to ask for help whenever you need it. The last message is really just for our seniors. And so for the juniors and sophomores, teachers, if you want to turn this off, that would be entirely okay, but also not a bad message for you to hear. And we always have this picture up just to kind of demonstrate like the end in mind, right? So we're always working towards graduation and what's beyond that, whether it's work, the military, or college, for whatever your choices that you're making. We want to ask this question of the class of 2022, and what is it that you want your legacy to be? What is it you want to leave behind? And what is it that you want to make FHS proud? Something that you can do as a class collectively to make us all proud. And it doesn't have to be anything monumental, really. It can start by being kind. It can start by doing your part to do everything that you can to be the best version of yourself. And then one of the things that I'm constantly telling kids, it's kind of a mantra that I live by, is to find out a way to take care of the people that are taking care of you. So that could be your parents, that could be your siblings, that could be the sentries in the building, the secretaries, the paraprofessionals, the teachers, the bus drivers. All of these people work in this system for you. And we choose to do that because we love being around teenagers and we love that opportunity to interact with you on a regular basis. And most of us really love watching kids grow up. That's why we choose to do this and work in this environment. So we ask you, what can you do to make us proud? And again, it starts with being kind to your classmates, coming together and coalescing as a class, really looking out for each other. And as you figure things out for what you're going to do next year, you do everything that you can to kind of buy into this process and be good leaders of the school, because that's what you are as seniors. And, part of it's just getting here on time in the morning, understanding like you need to be a patient driver, understanding, to engage in your classes, to be good peers and role models for the sophomores and the juniors as you walk around the halls of Fairport High School. Demonstrate that pride and how important it is for you to be, very soon a graduate of Fairport High School, because that's something we're known for. And so that's the message I leave with you today a little bit is, how are you going to leave a legacy, class of 22? How are we going to remember you? Beyond that, again, some advice for you and for everybody. Seek help when needed. Again, seniors, you got a lot of stress on your plate in terms of figuring out what you want to do with your life. Understand that senior privilege is something that we do to incent you to be good. And we know that most of you make great decisions every day. But if you make some bad decisions or you're not performing academically, that senior privilege, that ability to kind of come and go and be trusted adults, is something that we take away on a short-term basis. And that gives us a little bit of leverage to make you understand we really need you at your best. Driving, I mentioned this before, many of you are in cars, for the first time, maybe some a little bit longer. You've been driving since you were a junior. But driving is an incredible responsibility. It's a great thing to be able to do. It's a great privilege. But with it comes that responsibility of knowing that that car can hurt you and other people. And so we really need kids to drive safely, especially in our parking lots and on the grounds. As you leave Fairport High School, just a reminder, when you see a stop sign, it's not stoptional, okay? Like we ask, if there's a stop sign there, unless we're waving you through, you need to stop. Something that our kids constantly do as inexperienced drivers, and it's illegal, is you should never, ever pass a bus that has its lights out, okay? If you do that, you're subject to an incredible fine, points on your license, your insurance is gonna go up. And so a very common practice, our kids will, as they turn out of Fairport High School, go past a stop bus that has their lights on, and you'll hear that bus driver is going to lay on the horn. Just understand, if there's a police officer nearby, you're going to get a ticket and it's going to be expensive. So again, one of those reminders about driving safely. Remember that you live in a school community. There are people out and about walking their children to and from school, that kind of thing. And as drivers, we really need you to be safe. And then as a result of that, we put on safety driving seminars. You'll get some information about that. Our expectation is that all student drivers complete that process. And so please be on the lookout for that information. A couple of more things, and we're almost finished here. Letters of recommendation. Seniors, you're going to hear this from your guidance counselors. I'm sure you're going to hear it from your senior teachers. A couple of notes for you on this. Number one, if you right now can't name 2 or 3 different people that you're going to count on to write a letter on your behalf no matter what you're trying to do in your future life, whether it's recommendation for a job, recommendation for college or the military, that's a problem. You need to connect with people in the building, and they don't have to be your senior teachers. They can certainly be teachers from, you know, any point in your career, but you need to be able to ask people to speak on your behalf, to speak on your character, your work ethic, and what you bring to the table in terms of, you know, your future aspirations. So strongly encourage you to work on those connections. And then also understand your timelines aren't necessarily the same as the teachers. And so you want to make sure that if you're going to ask someone to write a letter of recommendation for you, that you've given them the time to do it and to do it well, because they want to do it well. It's a great honor for us to be asked to write letters of recommendation, but you can't give it to them and ask for it tomorrow. You really need to give them enough time, enough lead time to get it done and do it right. And some of our teachers, especially teachers of seniors, end up writing a lot of them. You know, we have teachers that write 75 letters, and so they really need that lead time. So please communicate with them, and then afterwards, thank them for speaking on your behalf. It's huge. Part of that process is you recognize that they are committing to you, putting their name and their reputation on the line and speaking about you. So just a little bit of note on that. And then in this message could be, like, if the sophomores and juniors are still listening, Jostens is coming next week for ring, to a little bit of information about rings. So we'll have that out to our second period teachers. And then seniors, September 20th, there'll be a video from Scott Fitch, one of our proud graduates, Fairport High School. Really proud. Coach Fitch still works with us and works with our basketball team. As a representative from Jostens, he'll have a video for us to explain all the ins and outs around senior announcements, cap and gown, and that kind of thing. And we'll look for that information to be delivered to you on the 20th. So the message there is a message that you're going to hear from me over and over and over again, right up until you graduate. Please take care of the people that take care of you. Again, that's pretty much everybody that we've listed before. Every school personnel person, your family. You know, this message in life is really powerful, and I promise you, if you do it, they're really going to be there for you in times of need. So we're all done. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact your guidance counselor, your building administrator. Really appreciate your attention, and our social studies teachers for showing this in class today. But we look forward to getting to know you throughout the school year. And I want to thank my entire team for being here today and our commitment for the entire school year. So we can't wait to do this, and we really look forward to saying hello to you in the hallways in the cafeteria. Take care, everybody.